So what I really want to talk about now is kind of four options that I weighed as I started thinking about how I should go about getting time, okay? How I should go about paying, what my options were as far as paying, and how much it was going to cost me from each of these options, right? Four distinctly different options. That being renting locally at the FBO that I am currently running through. The second option is buying my own plane. The third option, buying a plane with a few buddies or a few people that are also interested in buying a plane. And then finally, joining a club. There's a local club here that seemed to have a pretty good thing going that I was highly considering. So I'll wait till the end of the video to tell you what I chose. I think it might shock you a little bit when you kind of weigh everything. It shocked me, but I've got some good reasons, and you know, everybody's situation is different. I really want to stress that. This is my situation. This is what is going to work for me. Everybody's situation is different. But think about some of this stuff. Think about what's important to you. One option you won't hear me talk about is a dedicated flight school like ATP. I just can't do that at this point in my life. I have a family to raise and a job to keep and all that fun stuff. And so again, everybody's situation is different, but maybe you can pull a nugget out of this that allows you to evaluate the way you're going about it, or to think a little bit differently, or to find some other options. Okay, so I'm going to flip the camera around and point at a few things. I'm going to show you the four options, kind of the costs associated with each, and then I'll sum it up at the end, and we'll wrap it up and look to get some flight video going. Okay, so here's option number one. This is the rent local option. This is flying through the FBO at my local airport, the plane that I'm already checked out in. He actually has four airplanes. I'm only flying one of them. It's a 172. You'll see some stuff that is pretty darn similar through this whole thing. Some very repetitive things like flight instruction. I'm banking on getting my instrument and commercial with about 30 hours of flight instruction. Maybe a little bit aggressive, especially seeing as how I knocked 3 of those out today. But it's a goal, and going rate's about $40 an hour in the area that I live, no matter where you go. Okay, the flight time, I need about 105 hours to get to my totals for my commercial, and the plane I'm renting is 140 bucks an hour. A little bit higher, or a little bit high. You could find some a little bit less expensive, but it's good equipment, equipped well. It's got a Garmin 430 WAS and a bunch of other fun stuff. Okay. And then I need some complex time. The only thing available through this avenue is a twin Comanche, which is awesome. Get some twin time as well. But you can see that's pretty expensive. That's got the instructor rate in there, but 260 bucks an hour is quite pricey. So you can see the total there, 18.5. The next option, flip it over, is a solo purchase option. So a lot more going on here, right? Flight instruction stays the same. Flight time, I can get that hourly rate way down, right? Go from 140 bucks an hour to more like $40 an hour. But then there's a lot of other incremental expenses, like having a monthly payment, having a hangar, having insurance, maintenance. You can see it all adds up. And then I'd still need that complex time above it. Of course, I would keep the plane at the same place that I'm currently renting through. So I would continue to fly out of there, and I would rent their twin, and again, pretty pricey. You can see it would shave off somewhere in the area of $3,000, but it is all dependent on me doing it within a certain amount of time. The math here is done after doing it in 12 months, and really sticking to a budget of about 30,000 bucks, which, if any of you are in the market, have done some shopping, 30 grand doesn't get you too far as airplanes are concerned right now. Certainly would not be nearly as capable as the plane that I can rent. So how do you overcome that? Well, my next option, a three-way partnership. Find some other goons that are in the same boat or want to do some flying, and get their cash to help kind of offset, or to be able to buy a nicer plane. Okay, again, flight instruction stays the same. Flight time, you know, we're going to buy a nicer plane. It's going to burn a little bit more fuel. Certainly going to cost a little bit more. So you can see it went from $40 up to $60 an hour. And the payment would probably stay the same. You know, I'd put in my 30 grand. The other two guys put in their 30 grand, and we'd buy a really nice plane. And then, of course, dues. You got to, with any cooperative kind of thing, you got to have dues to cover hangar rent and some of those incrementals that you saw broke out on the previous option, the sole ownership. And then again, I'd still need that complex time. I guess there is an option or a chance you could buy a complex airplane, like a, you know, I really like Moonies. I've been looking at Moonies, or, you know, maybe a Comanche or something like that. But it, you know, it'd certainly be more likely to not buy a complex airplane. So you can see grand total there, pretty good, $13,580. Still, you're about $1,500 less than owning it by myself. But there's some downfalls too. I'll talk about that at the end. The last option is the club membership. So about 45 minutes from my house, there's a airport with a club that has 4 airplanes. I think they're down to 3 because one had a little accident. So they've got a 150, 2 172s, and they had a complex plane as well, but again, that had an accident. So you can see, same price for flight instruction. They get a pretty good rate, a lot cheaper rate for the 172 time, $92 an hour. The monthly dues are pretty inexpensive, $59, and you can see I'm planning on only being a part of it for a year. Their complex plane, which is now broke, they were getting $159 an hour, so a little bit more reasonable there. And the buy-in, it's really only $450. It's $950, but you get $500 back at the end when you say you're done. That's pretty straightforward, pretty easy, and you can see the grand total is about the same as owning in a 3-way partnership. So certainly a lot of benefits there. So now I'm going to kind of sum it all up. Again, talk about the option I chose and kind of why. And I'd love to hear your comments as to why you think it was the right option or other things. And I'll talk about some of the things I'm going to do, you know, to mitigate some cost. So again, rent local. It's close to home. I know I'm already flying the equipment. I'm already learning the equipment. I know the instructor. I like the instructor. You know, a lot of good benefits, but it's the most expensive. So I'll talk about the partnerships and purchases together. For what I'm doing, trying to get in and out of the plane pretty quick, trying to get this training done pretty rapidly, I really am hesitant to go down the ownership path. Biggest reason why, I don't intend to own it after the fact, and there's a lot of risk. What if an engine goes? What if an accident happens? I guess that could happen anywhere. You know, that it looks on paper like it could be the most lucrative, the least expensive, but there's just a lot of risk associated with that. So you got to weigh the option. Is it worth that risk? The club membership, for the longest time, the last couple weeks, has really felt to me like the direction I was going. Lowers the cost down significantly. They have good equipment. It should be available quite often. But there's some downsides for me personally. One, it's a long drive. 45 minutes to get there, 45 minutes to get back. Time to get the airplane set up and going. You know, a 1-hour flight, 2-hour flight could turn into 5 or 6 hours pretty easily. Which is tough, right? When I have a family, a wife, 2 kids. So, again, the ownership I talked about, it's just too much risk. The club membership is too much time. So really the option I went back to and I'm pursuing is renting locally through the crew that I already know and I'm flying with. And you may say, oh wow, yeah, just throw more money at it. It's going to cost more money, and it might in the end. But there are a couple strategies that I'm leveraging to try and drive that cost down. One is shared time. So, you know, I'm not, I won't claim to know all the regulations backwards and forwards, but I do know that if you are under the hood, your safety pilot can claim those hours as well. So, what we're doing, there's a couple guys. I reached out to the club, which has a couple hundred members, and just said, hey, I'm looking to build time. Is anybody else looking to build time? We can work this out where we both get the time and split the cost. Taking that hourly cost from $140 an hour down to $70. So that's what I'm doing. That's one of the strategies to try and reduce the costs. And I think so far the response has been phenomenal. I know it's been phenomenal. I've had 5 guys reach out to me and say, hey, I'm interested in that. And actually tomorrow I'll be flying with one of them for the first time. So we're going to both get hours, and we're going to pay $70 an hour for rental in a 172, which is pretty well equipped. So that's fantastic. Once I get my IFR, there's options that start to open up to get time. You know, there's the option of Wings of Mercy, give you the opportunity to fly with somebody else. They require 2 IFR pilots in the plane, so some options to get some time there, which could be fantastic. If there's one thing I can say, if there's one overall piece of advice I can give, because I've been blown away so far, is just go talk to people. Go talk to the folks at the FBO, go talk to instructors, talk to other pilots. You are not the first person who has gone through this. You are not the first person who has stumbled or thought there wasn't a way. If you have the will to do it, there is absolutely a way to do it. Any challenge that comes up, you can overcome it as long as you try hard enough. You go talk to people, figure out ways to get hours, figure out ways to build skills, just to overcome it. If you can work hard enough, you'll get there. And that's what I intend to do. So thanks for watching. Consider subscribing. We get to that 1,000 mark, we start going live. And I look forward to getting in the plane. We'll get some video tomorrow, and you can see me fumble my way through IFR flight for the first couple hours. Thanks.